The following day we decided to just basically kind of like relax a little bit more. Like I said, this vacation was all about relaxing. It's our honeymoon after all. So we just went to the beach. 8:46. It's not as busy. Wow. Nowhere near as busy. Maybe that's the thing for the umbrella. I know. Now, the one thing in Levanto, there wasn't a lot of public space. I'll put it that way. There wasn't a lot of public space at the beach. There was a little section that we got there bright and early. We were there, I think, like 9 o'clock in the morning. Because for one, we also didn't want to be out when it was super crazy hot outside. But two, we also wanted to beat the crowds. And we just sat there and just enjoyed swimming in the Tagarian Sea? No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know what the name of the sea is. Give me 1 second.
A few moments later.
The Ligurian Sea. We just decided to settle down there and actually enjoy that for a little bit and swim in there. Oh, look at that. What is that about? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a laugh. I didn't really take many videos or anything like that while we were there because I was swimming. I didn't want to bring my camera with me or anything like that and leave it out for somebody to potentially steal it. You know, with tourist destinations, especially during that busy time of the year, you always have to be careful about what you bring with you and how easily accessible the stuff is on you. Because if it's easily accessible to you, it's easily accessible to somebody that is not you. And then after that, we basically spent the rest of the time in Levanto just kind of like relaxing around town. You're gonna be paying for like yeah, like a bunch of band-aids, and you'll use one. We walked around for a little bit. The downtown was very busy. There must have been a festival or something going on at that point in time, but it was crazy busy. There were some like tents set up with people like vendors and things like that. So it ended up being a great time. We got some espresso downtown because that's the thing to do when you're in Italy. You get the espresso. You know what that means? Wait, look at this. And then ended up going back to the hotel to shower again because we were already sweaty at that point. And then just relaxed by the pool there because the temperature was starting to get a little bit too warm to be out in the sun. At least by the pool, there's some umbrellas there that were free. There are umbrellas at the beach that you could use, but you have to rent them, and we didn't feel like doing that. Plus, it was getting really busy at that point in time. Back at the hotel, the pool was not that busy. So I just got a beer, just sat there by the pool. Andrea swam for a little bit. Once I was done with my beer, I went in for a little as well. And we just had a good time. There was a bunch of bees that were flying around. Some would get stuck in the water, so I would actually go around trying to save them. Silly me if I would have got stung, but as far as I know, I'm not allergic, so that's a good thing. But it ended up being a good time. We just relaxed and chilled. Then we took a shower and just got ready to go out for dinner. We ended up walking around the town a little bit. We walked to the top of the, I guess the hill there where there was a church. Went into the church. It was really nice, very beautiful old church. And it was phenomenal to see the architecture and everything like that. And it was just crazy hot too. I just remember that. It was ridiculously hot at that point. Oh, there's the castle right there. And then we walked back down and just had a good time like walking around back into town at that point before we decided to call for a shuttle and pick us up and head back to the hotel. And this time we went for a dinner at a restaurant that we saw the day before, but we didn't go to because at that point we had already eaten. I got the pasta, which was the trioli pasta, I think that's what it's called. I could be pronouncing it wrong, or maybe my mind's just messing with me. But that's the native pasta of the region. It kind of looks like cavatelli, but like kind of spiraled. It's really interesting. So I got some of that with some pesto, and it was really good. Probably not my favorite pasta in the world. Cavatelli is still my #1 favorite, without a doubt. Cavatelli for the win. But the pesto was really good. And then on top of that, we had this really fantastic seafood dish as well as like an appetizer, and that was phenomenal. It's kind of weird when you look at it. I think I have pictures or at least a video of it. But yeah, I mean, you can see like the shrimp with the eyes and the claws and all that stuff like that, or whatever they have, I don't know. But that was pretty interesting to see. But it ended up tasting amazing. So it's one of those things, just kind of, if you're grossed out by food that can see you back, then yeah, that's you might not want to eat that. But it tasted great. You just got to put that aside. But that was a great little spot. And then after that, we just kind of like relaxed around for a little bit and then headed back to the hotel for another night. Got up early, started packing our stuff because the next day we were going out to Florence again. This time we were taking the train back from Levanto to Florence, and from there we were going to hop on our flight out the next day. Alright, saying so long to Levanto. So on to the next day, our last day in Levanto. We got breakfast at the hotel, and then we ended up picking up our train to go from Levanto out to Florence. It's definitely a nice hotel. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's our hotel right there.
Yeah, that's it.
Now this train ride was a lot smoother, went a lot better, basically no issues at all the whole entire time. So we ended up getting to Florence, got a taxi, got to our hotel, wow, I cannot remember the name of these. I don't know why, I think it's just because of the Italian names. Bertolucci Hotel? I think that's what it's called.
A few moments later.
Brunelleschi. It was the Hotel Brunelleschi in Florence, and that was where we ended up staying for the next night before we caught our flight out the following day. But we had one full day in Florence, mostly full. Once we got the train to Florence, we got there and we left our bags at the hotel, which was really nice of them to do that. So they kept the bags aside for us. Then we ended up having a lunch at the hotel, which was fantastic, really great. Before we had a tour in the afternoon where we were going to see Michelangelo's David statue in Florence. But the tour was a walk-around tour, so we got a nice view, a nice walking around of Florence. It was in the afternoon, mid-afternoon. It was pretty hot at that point. Again, I think it was hotter in that city than it was most other places, except for maybe one day in Cinque Terre where it was ridiculously hot.
I think it's so funny sitting here now.
Ended up being a great tour. We got to see a lot of the architecture around Florence. We got to see some of the sites that were kind of familiar to me from if you've ever played the game Assassin's Creed. It was a really good tour. The guy was very knowledgeable. I would definitely recommend getting a tour. But the highlight of the whole trip, not only do you get the architecture and you get to walk around Florence and get some of the history of the area itself, at the very end of it you get to go to the agricultural museum, I think they call it, of course the Italian version of that, and you get to see David as well as some other sculptures that Michelangelo had started but maybe not had finished at that point. Of course it was mobbed, it was crazy busy in there, but it was nice of us to be able to skip the tour. I think we only waited, or the main line, I think we only waited like 5 minutes to go in there. They do a bag check and everything like that. But once we got in there, it was phenomenal. There was a lot of other history there besides the David statue, which is probably obviously the main highlight of that area, but there's a lot of other artists on display there, both paintings and sculptures. So that was really interesting. And I will say the David statue, it's a lot bigger than you'd think. I will also mention too, while you're doing the tour, there's a replica of the David statue on where it originally stood, but then they moved that statue from outside and brought it inside because I guess the birds are pooping on it and everything like that. I think at one point one of the hands fell off. I forget if it was struck by lightning or what the reason was for that, but one of the hands fell off, so they had to like reattach it. So I think in the end they decided to actually move it into the museum and put a replica where it stands, where it originally stood outside. Anyway, with that being said, that was the end of our tour in Florence. We went back to the hotel after that, after we walked around by the Duomo again, which to this day, I mean, that thing is huge. The pictures and the videos probably don't do it justice on how big that thing is. I do have a picture from the airplane where you can actually see the Duomo over the buildings, and it's pretty fascinating. So we didn't get a chance to go inside. My understanding is that the inside, at least what the tour guide told us, was that the inside is not as elaborate and as decadent as the outside of it was. So because of that, we didn't bother waiting in line either. It was getting late at night and we wanted to go back to the hotel. We had a dinner arrangement for a restaurant later that night. So we basically just went back to the hotel. Ended up walking to the restaurant that the hotel, I guess, concierge set up for us, which I have the Hotel Brunelleschi. That hotel was phenomenal, 100% worth it. I would stay there again for sure. I'm kind of bummed that because we had such an early flight out the next day, we had to catch a cab at like 5 o'clock. We missed we missed the breakfast there. But from what we had for the lunch that we had when we were there, it was phenomenal. And I can only imagine the breakfast and actual dinners would be even better. So I would definitely recommend that place. It's probably more on the expensive side. The room was very small, but it's a city. And the unique thing about this place though is when they were excavating it to do renovations, they ended up finding an old Roman bath underneath the hotel that was buried. So what they did was they just decided to make that a little bit of a museum, so you could actually go down there and do a little tour.
Oh, was it closed?
But that was a really neat, nice little surprise, I guess. Which, for those of you that don't know, I will spoil this though. Florence was built atop a bunch of Roman ruins, so they built it atop kind of like I guess that's a theme for a lot of cities like Seattle and probably a lot of cities over in Europe too, where they just built on top of old stuff. So after we had our dinner at the hotel, or at the restaurant that the hotel set up for us, we ended up having like a good time. We just walked around for a little bit just to walk off the food because it was fairly filling at that point. And we ended up going back to the hotel just to relax, finish packing. We headed out for the next day. Again, the hotel concierge, 100%. That guy was so nice. He would do anything for you, for sure. I mean, he set up the dinner for us. He even called the cab company to make sure that the cab driver was going to be there for us to take us to the airport the next day. And I know there was a lot of communication with the cab driver and the taxi company. So it was phenomenal. He was super great. I shout out to him. I forget his name, but shout out to him. He was awesome. And then the next day we just got up early. He packed up a little bag for us for breakfast, which was basically just like sandwiches and I think an apple. Yeah. There's the Duomo at night. But from there we were taking our flight from Florence, and this time instead of stopping in Rome like we did on the way to Florence, we actually ended up stopping in Paris for a quick layover and just got some food there, nothing too crazy. Either way, we ended up landing, had a good time, went through customs, no big issues there, bought a couple souvenirs, nothing too crazy, and we ended up coming back to Boston. And then yeah, that was the gist of it, so I apologize if this was a lengthy video. I'm not sure if it's going to be lengthy or not yet, but like I said, I didn't film necessarily every little thing because it was our honeymoon, so I tried to catch kind of like the major points of interest, I guess, or the major points of what we did. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video or the videos that I'm putting out. If you do me a favor, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. What you liked, what you didn't like, maybe how I can improve them. Like I said, this one's more like a personal video because it's the honeymoon. And it's a bit different from my normal style, especially when it comes to like the hiking stuff that I've traditionally been posting. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, so peace out. Until the next one. Cheers guys.